You're listening to a nerdy production. Warning, this is a nerdy production. Welcome inside the GM Workshop. This is a weekly podcast about role-playing and game mastering. We will talk to game designers and game masters all over the world, and I hope you will join us in Season 3. This season I want to level up, and I need your help, and therefore I have created a Patreon, and I hope you will join so I can level up the workshop so we can create some new contents for you. Check out the Spiral game I've created, and it's called Jungle Teeth. I hope you will check it out and download it for free, and give us feedback and so on, so we can get on to Kickstarter later this year. Roll for initiative. Welcome inside the game GM Workshop. Today we are talking Alien and the just finished RPG trilogy with the aliens, finishing with the Heart of Darkness. And with me are Andrew Gaska, the primary writer on that trilogy, and also Lars, one of my buddies from Denmark that are very well established GM and great with the game, and I've been of the pleasure of having him as a GM in the Detroit Worlds part of the trilogy. So first, guys, Lars, can you say hello to the listeners, and then we will take Andrew.
Well, yeah, of course. Hello, everybody, and if I need to tell something about myself, I have been playing role-playing games since the late '80s. I was introduced to what can you say alternative histories like Mubius and all these European comics where you get another story than what you got from Disney. And I grew up in a time where the Alien film come out and Star Wars and uh, Blade Runner and all these great stories that have been a great impact on me and my storytelling. So and when in the late '80s I was introduced to Dungeons and Dragons like many others, it was just like opening up a new world for me. It was it had been not my hobby since it had been my lifestyle. So I have been playing a lot of different kinds of role-playing games, anything from Dungeons and Dragons, Shadowrun, GURPS. What can you say more? A lot of World of Darkness, a lot of World of Darkness. I have written some scenarios to Danish game conventions in that setting, and also Warhammer 40K scenarios. And my latest, one of my latest role-playing games that I have fallen in love with is Genesis, this narrative dice system, and of course Engine Zero from Free Liga. So that is a very short story about my role playing history, and I like to play role playing because I like to play my role and explore the history. I'm not the gamer type that much, but I can do it, especially when I'm GM. I prepare myself and get into the rules and understand them. So I got the upper hand on that.
Yeah, and help the players.
And help the players,
Make
yeah,
more relaxed, so you can take the steering wheel when they fucked up. Yeah,
exactly.
and you were introduced to aliens by me when we ran a test of my convention scenario last summer, and you were hooked, and you have run the first part of the trilogy, and will run the Heart of Darkness soon. But you have read it, and you have some insights on it, so we can take that. But yeah.
Yeah. If I say one thing more to that, there have been two persons who have sold me the aliens. First, it was you, and then there was another person I know who gave me everything for free. All these,
Yeah.
he had kickstarted aliens a lot, and he got all these extra things. He just, Lars, check this one. What is that? Destroy World. Okay, I will play it for you. And he has just been like giving me all these scenarios for free, and I have been buying a lot of extra things in the Danish role-playing shops to have fully prepared. And so yeah, I have got a lot of people who have tried to convince me playing
Yes,
Alien
for sure,
RPG. So.
and it's a great game. But Andrew, we have you on before in the first episode of my season 2, so people can listen more to you. But how do you feel about the ending of this trilogy, and what's about you and the Alien RPG for now?
I mean, everything in my head has been building towards Heart of Darkness since we started this. I didn't know if I was going to get the opportunity to tell this story, and I mean, the thing that's interesting about Heart of Darkness is that it's a game changer for Alien, because it adds the ability to do something to the stories that haven't been done before. And I'm trying to talk as vague as possible because I don't want to spoil too much. And it's things that are being picked up by the video games and stuff like that right now, and it naturally grows out of the stuff we've seen in the movies. So I'm very proud of it. I think it opens up new doors. I didn't know if I was going to be writing all the adventures or whatnot, and I was very happy to complete this trilogy.
That's great.
The one of the things I tried to do when I constructed it all, and I wanted to do more of it, but it just worked out that we only got to do one of these, was sort of like, I almost wanted between each scenario to have a campaign book that was then going to be like, if you think of the scenario as a movie, the campaign book is a streaming series, which would lead up to the next movie. Between Chariot and Destroyer, pandemic happened, so that didn't happen. Okay, but after Destroyer, we got the Colonial Marines book, which bled out of the events that happened in Destroyer, and what it sets up has it so that after you read Heart of Darkness, then you jump to the next campaign book. All that makes sense too. The next campaign book should be the Colonial Marines book.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. The Colonist book. The Colonial Marines book.
The Colonist book. The Colonist book. Yeah.
It's called Building Better Worlds.
Of course it does. Yeah, but yeah, I've run the Jared Gods a few times, and only as a player, the story worlds, but I read it afterwards, and I haven't read the Heart of Darkness. But you have run it, Lars. What are your thoughts on the Jared Gods? I know you have run it 3 or 4 times, or 3 times.
Only 2 times, but they've been a great experience every time. First time I was playing it and with a group there, and second time was on VikingCon, the Great Danish Congression, and every time it was a great experience. People were freaked and had never played it before. There was like they were afraid and got a great role playing experience. So
but that's also educate the players in a way that we are giving players characters as players, but we know that this is not our character. We will end the game with. So the Chariot Gods are a great story to educate our players in how to play aliens, because it's the story. It's us as a player that gets the story, not our characters, because the characters are just pieces in the puzzle to create the story with us. So how would you feel about this, Andrew? And did you notice this mechanic outright? And was this a key moment for you when you figure out how to break this code because that's the way I see it in some ways. I've a GM try to play in a different ways, and one of the things I love to do is kill off my characters, not because I love to kill characters, but make my players understand that this is not your character, it's our character in the story, and how to involve the story with you as make my players take agency in the story and say, okay, cool, my Vasquez character blew up in the airlock, and it's an air dock like in the Aliens 2, and that gave it a great story. Then I will pick up another character and I will be in the story as a player. I will not go home this Friday, but in the Aliens you break the code for me as a GM, that it's okay to kill off characters because we just given a new character, and Chariot of Gods does this so elegant and so great. How did you figure out this way to tell stories?
Once they said they wanted to make so I was not supposed to be writing the scenarios originally. I was just supposed to be doing basically the source book material, because your listeners from before will remember this, but my background is I was a franchise consultant to Fox on Alien for several years, and for whatever reason, the person who was supposed to write it didn't write it. I don't know if they backed out or they let him go, whatever. But regardless, they asked me, "Do you want to do this?" And I said, "Sure," because I was role playing. I started role playing in 1983 with the Dungeons and Dragons Red Box. So I immediately became a game master back then. So I have lots of years experience with it. Never had a published adventure though. So when they said they wanted to make it like a movie, that's what the cinematic scenarios were. My first thought was, okay, well, that means this is everybody's dying and we're getting down to one person at the end, probably, and my original concept for it, which wound up getting shot down by Fox, and I totally agree with them why it was shot down. But my original concept for this was going to be, okay, if you get killed by an alien, like by getting if you get face hugged, okay, and a chest burster pops out of you, this was my original concept for the whole idea, okay, and you get to play that alien afterwards, and I envisioned this thing where all the players at one end of the table and the GM on the other, and eventually all those players who were aliens would be on the side with the GM and just one player left, okay. Now it's a little different than normal. It was just a concept I had, and Fox said no because if you play the alien, then the mystery of the alien is gone. And I thought about that, and that made a lot of sense to me. So that's where the abominations come from, because that's you starting to turn into this thing, and then when it gets too far, the GM takes you over. But I knew there had to be the last thing we want is players sitting there twiddling their thumbs while the last guy plays. So I knew there had to be people in place that you could pick up. And the crew of the Cronus made that possible. In Destroyer, it's everywhere you go. I mean, you're on a colony that's pretty big. There's the chances are there could be someone there. Even in the end, when you're in the military base, there's chances are that there's some survivors in there, which allows you to be able to pick up someone and keep going. Everybody, you're being handed this pre-gen character. The only way you're going to care about a pre-gen character is if the character's really damn interesting. So I put a lot of work into developing the personalities behind their characters, what their oh my gosh, I can't remember what it's called right now. Their item that they had that's important to them,
signature item.
Yeah, exactly. And the agendas. The agendas became really important. It wasn't my idea to do the agendas. It was part of the rules that Thomas developed over there at Free League. But I was like, I got to take these and run with them. And originally we were going to have. Oh, that's going to be a spoiler, so I don't know if I should say that or not.
That's right.
Okay, so they wanted the evil character to be the secret android. Okay, and I was like, we've seen that so many times. Is there something we could do with it? It's like the whole point of this whole adventure was when it's like, okay, this kind of feels like Alien, literally. Okay, we're a ship. We're a bunch of space truckers. We find a ship that is derelict, and there's something on the ship, and we take it. We're going to take it back with us. That's what the whole thing feels like it's going to be, right? And I was like, I need to make something that if people are going to love this past this one adventure, then I have to make it feel like it's going to be what you know, and then turn it on its ear. And that's why you want to, for whatever reason, spoiler, you want to be stuck on the Cronus rather than going back to your ship. That's why it's the creature is not what you expect it to be on the ship. It's all, and people are like, oh, I can't believe you used that. How can you call it Alien and use that? It's like, well, because I didn't want you to know what was coming. And I think that's the key to what made this work, because I shopped the project around to publishers for 18 months before I found Free League.
Mm-hmm.
And 18 months, everyone told me it's a one-note game. People play it once and never want to play it again.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hold my beer. You know?
That's great. Yeah. But Lars, what's your thought on the Tarot Guards? Because you ran twice, and you also, as like me, are GM a lot of times, and usually the players are the main character.
Yeah.
Have a main character, and they will live through dits and dats, and we'll try to play for level 1 to level whatever, and then we will end the campaign 3 years later because we play each Wednesday or whatever. But in the Aliens RPG world, we can create different campaigns terms with our players, because we are allowed to kill our characters because the players wants the story. How did you see this in the Jared of the Gods?
Well, there's a different contract with the players than
Yes.
in most others RPGs, and that is one of the things I really liked about it. It is that you're not there for playing the character; you're there for telling the story. And that appeals a lot to me as a GM and as a player. And I think that was one of the new things that okay, if I die, I play another character, and this character is a part of playing the story out. So and you do that a lot in terms of the guards without spoiling too much. I got one player who died 2 times, and that's it. He played 3 different characters. And some other players did not die and played the same character the last part. So, but it worked so fine. And also in your scenario, Jacob, when you introduced me to Alien, one of the things that really gave me a kick was that this idea that you're not playing the character through to the end or to a scene where you just stop playing. You just shift your character to a new one, and there was a new thing for me. I have not tried before in my many years as a player and GM, so that was very exciting.
Yeah, and it's very inspiration from the Tarot of Gods, of course. My scenario from in the convent in the Viking con, but as in the Tarot of Gods, I saw this mechanic, I will call it, because it's such a great mechanic to let the players loose and just don't care about their characters, but care about them enough to play them correctly, and the agendas are what that really drew me to Aliens for sure. So Thomas made a great job there. Andrew, I'm sorry, that's not you're not your boon.
Well, no, I mean, see, I didn't come up with the idea to do it, but I embraced it and tried to do everything I could with it. And what it does in the end to me, and I don't even know if this is what they were thinking, but this is, to me, what it does is it makes the player more important than the player character. Okay, because I'm giving you these guidelines, and I'm trying to keep them as vague as possible, so you can do whatever you think you want with this character.
Yeah.
And you get to take that, and it's like an actor saying, "What's my motivation?" Okay, now I'm going to do that. You know, it's not taking agency away from you. It's giving you guidelines and saying how will you interpret this. And it's worked because I've seen reenactments, and I've heard people write what happened in their game, and it's like Hammer from Destroyer Worlds. I've seen him played 15 different ways.
Yeah.
You know, and he still winds up accomplishing what he's trying to accomplish in his agendas. But man, some people are brutal with that character. Some people play it a little calmer, and it's fun because it gives the players room to take the risks that they wouldn't if it was the character they're trying to get to 23rd level. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
If I must say something about Hammer, it's a very simple character, but in some way he just works so fine, and his agendas are so simple, but they just make the story move forward. I really like them, even they are so simple. But anyway, the agenda cards is the second part of Alien that I really liked. It's also a new thing for me. I have tried it a little in some experimental convention scenarios, but it's the first time in a real production that I have seen these agenda cards, and it works so great. It's not just a goal that stands in your background. It opens up, gives you ways to move forward in the storage. It's so great.
Yeah, it's a great tool to push them forward. And I know you're looking at a Wesen scenario, Lars, when you want to use the the
I talked
agendas to.
about it.
Yeah.
I talked about doing that,
So
but
so it's not only for the Alien RPG, but in both the Terror of the Gods and the Troy Worlds, I've noticed that it was a great way to push the players forward and make the players take maybe some stupid choices or choices that made the story more fluent and better, but still not. The player didn't lose their agency, and that was the most important part for me because these agency could easily be taking away agency from the players. How did you balance this, Andrew, when you figured these agendas out? How did you balance the agency for the players and pushing the stories forward and still have the player agency on board?
It pretty much comes down to what I said before about how so you write the agenda and I would write the agenda as, okay, well, I want this to happen, right? But then I'd go back after I did that and I'd look at it and I'd be like, how can I write this in a way that nobody feels forced to do one thing? Okay, how can I write this in a way that it's open to interpretation for the player so they don't lose their agenda, their agency? I'm sorry, they have the ability to take this and do what the hell they want with it, and that's where I spend a lot of time going back and forth. It's like because honestly, there are certain words that we don't think about, but if we hear, immediately push us in a certain direction, and the trick was to write it in a way that it didn't make you feel like, oh, I got to do that. And the other part of it is that if you don't play those agendas, right? Like if somebody's like, I don't want to play that agenda, it doesn't necessarily ruin the game. The game doesn't hinge completely on the player doing that one thing. It's just that the player won't get the hero points. You know what I mean? So the story points. I'm sorry. And if that's what it comes down to. If everybody plays their agenda, the story is enhanced. Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, sure.
The clusterfuck becomes that much more of a cluster.
Yeah.
and all hell breaks loose. If one person doesn't, it's okay because even if everybody wanted to play their agenda, chances are not everybody's going to be alive by the time we get to that. So it's a careful balance that none of these are necessary, but all of these enhance the story.
Yeah, I've often when I created my taking back to the convent game I made, like it was very important with me when I created the agendas for that game was that I will make sure that the players won't hide in a room pointing a shotgun at the door all game because it's boring. It's not great, but I wouldn't say that you have to do this and this and this. But I gave them a notching through a door and maybe forgetting the shotgun or whatever. Made sure that the characters were stressed and pumped up and had this agenda that have to be fulfilled into the game. So I'm understand where you came from for this balancing act, but because it's a key mark for aliens to push the action forward and make the game stressful, because it's also the mechanic with the stress dices, but also making sure that we are not bored to hell and see two players sit at a door with a shotgun pointed at it. It's pretty boring. So Lars,
if players tried to do that in when I was in at my table, this is what I would do. And I'm just saying for GMs out here, here's an example how to get them out of that situation. They're in the room, they're huddled, okay? Power goes out in the room and the corridor, and everybody suddenly realizes the life support is not functioning in this area anymore, okay? And now you can't even open the door because it's stuck because the power's out, okay? Now they're going to make it their task to get the fuck out of there. So, but I mean, even just turning off the lights could make them want to get out of there. You know?
Yeah, for sure. But still, I think the agendas are more elegant way to nudge players into the action, and that's where I love it, because we all know the GM. Well, there's the dragon coming in your direction. Move the fuck away. Like that's not the dragon nudge. It's not fun, but in the agendas are an elegant way to use to nudge players into action, not the correct way, but still nudge them towards other players and interact with them, or interact with the story, or interact with the aliens or whatever. It's an elegant way to put that in terms, and still giving players agency, because that's a balancing act between a nudging and agency. How did you see this, Lars, in the scenarios, the 3 scenarios you have read and run 2 of them?
I think it has been a very good way to motivate the characters, and one of the funny things about it, and also besides that makes the characters move forward, is also the players like it, like the cards. They like it because they're excited what is going to be written on the next card. I could see it in my players' eyes. They were waiting for the next card when they will get it. So was more than just a mechanic. It was also something that the players liked to get. So it was also something that I experienced. And I will say there was some involved in Destroyer of Worlds. Some of the agendas cards motivations, what goals were so hard that the really make the characters move forward in places where they will normally no characters, no persons will go there, especially in the last part. Yeah, I've got only great experience with these cards, and I hope that many other role playing games will use this mechanic. Yeah, definitely.
Uh, so when you created the Destroy Worlds agendas, that's a larger campaign. Andrew, how did you? What was this a bigger balancing act than for the Chariot of Gods, because it's a longer story? What are your thoughts in that process?
Um, the funny thing about, honestly, it's like looking back at it. Destroyer, I kind of almost made 3 adventures and jammed them together on that.
Yeah.
I was thinking big, and like Chariot wasn't conceived as a box set. Okay, it was conceived as, because it first came out as that 48-page book, and that was it, or 6, whatever it is. Okay, later on they added it to when they realized they needed the starter set, so they added it to the starter set and all that stuff. But Destroyer was the first time they said, "Hey, we're doing a box set." Okay, and I thought, a box set, this has got to be huge. And they were like, "No, don't do that." so, so balance, I don't know, but the thing is that it's what it comes down to with all of them, whether it's short or long. Okay, is with the agendas. I look at, wouldn't it be totally fucked up if a character does this at the end? And then I think about, okay, so Act 2 and 1 need to lead to that. So how can we make it so that they start off in a place that nobody would have expected that, and then 2 just writes itself because it's the in between, you know? So it's the same no matter how long it is. There's some characters that the longer it plays out in Destroyer, the more interesting it becomes. And the spoiler, which you can edit out if you want,
So
is the android character, Chaplin. Yeah. The more schizophrenic that character becomes, the more the more the other personality takes over, the more interesting that can become, because the character is part of the team, and he could be sabotaging you completely along the way, and you won't even know it at first, probably. So it adds a lot to it, and what's great about it is that if you decide you want to take it out on him and kill him, it's not even his fault, because someone else took him. It's like, oh, what do I do now? You know, it's a little crazy. And with someone like Hammer, and yeah, we got to find a way to edit this so we don't give away too much. But
we'll try.
But with someone like Hammer, it's like, all right, descent into madness. Because at the end he's like, I'm gonna fight an alien with my fists, and it's just like,
crazy shit.
And but those crazier things people love. So, and that's what led to some of the crazy stuff that's in Heart of Darkness. So I think most of the characters are crazy in Heart of Darkness.
But yeah, one of the we'll talk on before recording here the pitfalls, because one of the pitfalls I've often go to or have my players ask about when I play Chair of the Guards or Cold Chamber, the scenario I made. It's like, well, I want to create a alien character from the startup book, but no, I have these pre-written characters. How do we help GMs tell players that it's okay that you're not creating your own character, and we have these characters that are into the story and into the they are that's a part of the story with agendas and motivations and so on. How do we bring this to players? How do you do this, Lars, when you sit down?
I don't.
With new
I don't
players?
think that's a problem with the pre-generated characters. Not in the Danish role-playing community. I think most players are truly very used to have pre-written characters and just play, especially when they are short scenarios like 6 to 8 hours play. It's different if you want to play campaigns. It's more normally that the players want to make their own character, but in these scenarios, no problem. As
How about Destroy Worlds? That's a longer campaign.
yeah, it took me 28 hours of play. Sorry, Andrew, but it took longer than what is written in the scenario. But
They put that number there. I did not put that number there.
good to hear, because I thought,
I saw that and I was like, are you kidding?
yeah, are you kidding me? Because then you're only going to do the mandatory scenes or something like that. But anyway, it took me like 28 hours or something like that, and it was great.
Yeah.
I thought we met like 3 or 4 times and played it, and of course that's a small scenario, a small campaign, but it was no problem. There was no problem in that. But the other question you asked me about how to prepare the players for this, well, normally we talk a lot about the session 0, where we talked about expectations, what is going to happen. And I just said that we're going to play retro-futuristic space horror. You are going to die, and you're going to play different kind of characters because you're going to die, and that's okay. That's part of the story. And people and my players were just saying, okay, fine, that sounds interesting, and took it from there. So absolutely no problem.
One, if you tell them, hey, this system's a little different, so it's pre-generated, and you're going to learn how to play it, and we're going to learn how to run it through the pre-gen characters because they're balanced in a way that allows the game to work right. Okay. The other way is pretty much what Lars said. It's like, hey, characters are going to die. You're not expected to survive this. Do you really want to create your own character and go through all that work?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, Andrew. So, yeah, we're gonna actually have a anecdote from my other group. I have a fantasy world I've played, and I made my players create some characters, and my players kept writing to me, hey, this and this, and background, and 4 or 5 pages background, and blah blah blah. But I knew that I will kill those characters on our. We have a 2 days. Session, and the beginning of the first session I will kill those characters, and they will get the characters that I killed them. So I didn't. They want to create their own characters. That's fine, but they keep writing to me the days up to this scenario, and background stories, and sending me 2 or 4 or 5 pages background stories, and they're like, keep it's just easy. It's easy, guys. It's not. don't bring too much into this and so on. But I still doesn't want to spoil it. But in the Aliens, I can spoil that the characters are not destined to survive that much. So that's a cool way to have this talk with our players at the session 0, as Lars said, and make it too. But yeah, the characters, the pre-gen characters for all the games. I haven't read the Heart of Darkness yet. I have on my desk, but the characters in these scenarios, Andrew, did you how much time did you put into the characters and mingle them into the story? How did you work with this?
I would, in each case, I started with the characters. So, I thought, okay, Colonial Marine, all right, everybody's got to be a Marine. What makes them interesting? Okay, that they all have to be very different from each other. So let's make Marines that are very different than each other. And then, wouldn't it be cool if this happens? Okay, so now let's build a story around this. So it's I start with the characters in this case.
That's a cool way, because it's, but as you said, especially Destroy the Worlds, where we have, if we have our players, or we have the players to create their own characters, we might have 5 equal Marines that are not balanced and that are not fun. They're not. The genders are just off because we have to move the game forward. So how did you? How would we present this to a player that this character is great for you, and how do we put it into the story for the players, Lars? How did you do this for Destroyed Worlds? I know you just handle out our characters, but did you point out some of our characters that would be better suited for your player styles, or how did you figure this out?
No, I don't remember I did that, but mostly when there's pre-generated characters, I typically ask the players. There's this android with the name Chaplin. He have this function and something very short, and I just tell the concept of all the characters, and then they can choose normally. That's my way normally to do it.
When I do that at conventions. Perfect example. There was this huge scene that got cut out of Heart of Darkness. Yep. Okay. And it really doesn't belong there because it was one of those things where this is an adventure on itself. Yeah. What I do is at conventions, I run that scene, and it takes 4 hours. So it's perfect for a convention. So what I did was I bring the character sheets in and I say, who wants to play the psychologist? Who wants to play this? Who wants to play that? And that's the only, and I advise, that's the only thing I give them to work on. So people have something to grasp on. Okay, I'm probably going to be the doctor, so I'm going to have to take care of everybody. I'll do that. And then they get it and like, oh my God, this doctor's agenda is insane.
Yeah.
You can't give it away. And I think the problem with Destroyers, we hadn't told people that yet. So people were like, here's your character sheets, players. Choose which one you want to play. And the agendas are on the character. So, you can't do it that way. It has to be much more vague. You have a guy who always plays an Arnold Schwarzenegger type character, then you give him Hammer. You just got to see, hey, you'd probably like this guy, that type of thing.
Well, in relation to that, one of my players played Hammer at the start, and he died with a shot to his head in the second part. And after that, I thought, oh, okay, now we have played with this very aggressive type. I will give him another character who is more stealthy. And then I gave him Wraith, this AWOL character, who was a lot more stealthy and more, another type of soldier than Hammer. And that was my way to challenge his role-playing style a little and give him a new experience in the scenario.
That's a great to also that if you get another aggressive character, he might use some of the same wording, and the other players couldn't play up against him. Would play up against him in the same way, that's a great way to do it, Lars, for sure. When we look at the Alien RPG now, Andrew, I don't know how much you can spoil and so on, but I know the better worlds are coming soon, and it'll be the same structure as in the Colonial Marine book, where you have some small scenarios built in, or what are the thoughts in that realm?
Well, the 7 scenarios in the Colonial Marine book were a campaign that told a bigger story, and that spun out of Destroyer of Worlds. So So the Building Better Worlds book has, I think it's 7 again, adventures that tell a campaign that spin out of Heart of Darkness. So, now, you got to think of it as Heart of Darkness was a teaser for something that's happening elsewhere. And that's the best way to describe it. And remember earlier I said about it's the player who's more important than the character in this? Basically everything you guys have been saying has just been making that true, even because it's like now you gave the player that other character and they had to play it differently. So the character, again, it's the player's interpretation of the character that's important, you know. One of the things I tried to build over the trilogy and moving forward into Building Better Worlds is the player is learning something new each time. Their character may be, you know, not, are learning something, but are learning something for the first time, but the player is like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? This is a bigger thing, blah, 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 blah. And it all connects all together. So it's a journey for your players at the table to understand what's happening in the Alien universe instead of just being a journey for the character in the universe.
And it's a good point to, as I said again on this podcast, it's the player that gets the story, the meetup story, the big story, and the characters will get itsy bitsy of him, but it's not important what the character gets. It's what's the player experience, the cinematic campaign scenario experience that we want to give the players. Lars, have you looked at the Colonial Marine book and the scenarios in that?
Yeah, I read them. One of my thoughts is that after I played Heart of Darkness, I will give the characters, the players, that great experience to make their own characters and make some Colonial Marines and play some of the scenarios in that. So, that's what I think about. I'm waiting for the colony part. That's my thought about it.
And of course, as I ran the 4 first scenarios in the Colonial Marine book, and I did, as you said, I've created some character with my players, but I still want to have some agendas, so I made them create their characters, and then I built in some agendas to push to a node when I could push it forward. But it is a very small scenario, so I had only 2 agendas, and I only pushed the agendas if they were stuck or they didn't know what to do, or if they sat down in a room and pointed their shotgun at the door again. So that's what's my contract with my players in those scenarios. So yeah.
Are you guys aware of the Titan novels that have the adventures in the back?
Let's hear.
Okay, so there are 3 Titan novels, 2 of which are out. They're alien novels from the company Titan. Colony War is one of them. Inferno's Fall is the other one, and the third one that's coming is Enemy of My Enemy. Each one of these novels are written by a different author, but I've written an adventure for the role-playing game that's in the back of each of these novels. Yeah, so they're scenarios that spin out of the events of the novels, and the novels draw upon stuff that's been mentioned in the role-playing game. So it's a way to integrate the Alien universe into a bigger meta thing, and this is the example I use. At some point in Inferno's Fall, there's a Marine team that's launched to a planet to take care of something that's happening on a colony. Okay, it's not the only colony on that planet, though. Okay, and after the team launches, the people that are still on the ship see that they're getting distress calls from elsewhere on the planet, and they say in the novel, "We need to launch teams to there as well."
Great.
And then they never deal with that in the rest of the novel. And the adventure is you're one of those teams. So now you have been in the alien novel itself.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's my way of. I've wanted to do this forever. So it's like that's why in the video game Fire Team Elite from Alien. Have you guys played that game or no? Okay.
I know it.
So in the video game, it takes place 20 years after the role-playing game. And at one point, they mentioned 20 years ago there was a frontier war. And they're talking about what happened in the Colonial Marines book. So we're trying to integrate this into a bigger, living, breathing, expanded universe.
Great.
It's something I've wanted to do forever. And once the Alien game started winning the awards, the other publishers, and the game people and everything, like, hey, that's great. Let's work together. And I'm very proud of that. We're able to do that
because
that's
sorry,
great. I'll just say that it's a little the same thing they have done in the Marvel universe, all the Marvel films. They
Yes.
get pieces of the other stories and combine it together and make this living universe where you feel that that's a lot of things happening. It is just this, not only this single story that is isolated. It's like you are feeling like it's a living world.
Yep. No, I totally agree. And yeah, Marvel was the first to do it on screen like that, but Star Wars was doing it in the novels with like Shadows of the Empire was a novel that came out that had a video game tie-in and had a comic tie-in and had this tie-in, and so it's really of course Lucasfilm that led the way with this type of idea.
Yeah.
But there's in licensing with these type of things, there's too much. We're just going to do our thing over here in the corner, and it's a living, breathing universe already. Why not take advantage of that?
Oh, it's a great idea. Yeah,
for sure.
So those scenarios, those are like one-act scenarios, sort of like the same length as Hope's Last Day.
Yeah.
So if you want, again, if you need like hey, let's have a one-night play, that's probably perfect.
It is. It's a great game. I've run it once, and it's just fun to see that we are the colonists that are launching this distress signal. So we have Aliens 2, the Aliens 2 movie. It's a great tie-in to the movies in this particular scenario. It's pretty fun to have these aha moments for the players, for sure, and in many other franchises, as you said, and we can do it as GMs each time we play in some iconic setting, of course, and also in our own world we can do it, make some history, some history thing. If you have a iconic setting, you can make these aha moments for the players. And as in Last Hope, you can make this aha experience that we are the colonists that are sending this distress signal, and that's pretty cool. And we can do it in our own world, of course, in history that we are the ones that made Hitler take his own life or something like that. We can use these aha moments for the players, and that's a great way to link into the comics and the movies, of course, when you are role playing in the Alien universe. So that's great, Andrew. How can we get these scenarios, Andrew? In only
you can go on Amazon or wherever Titan books are sold. The Alien novels are called Colony War. Inferno's Fall, and the third one is Enemy of My Enemy. That third one doesn't come out until Alien Day.
That's epic.
But Lars, the last part is mostly for you and for me, but of course Andrew as well. But the wishes and stars for Aliens right now. What is your wishes for the Alien RPG, Lars?
Well, I'm very glad to hear that there will be a focus on the colonists in some old worlds, because I think it could be great to see a story with some families or something like that, exploring something. What is there have been a lot of people talking about this topic about the Predators. Are they a part of the franchise or they're not? And
it's not.
And one of on Facebook today, one person texted you, Jacob, and asked you, what about the Predators and all that? I have no idea who got the royalties on anything about that. I just say when I saw Predator 2 and saw the alien skull, I was just like, great. It's so cool because they got the same expression, these two beasts, these two aliens, but I have no idea if it will work. I just think that would be cool anyway. And one of my other things I wish for the future for these scenarios is I really hope there'll be the same great maps because my players when and also myself when I open these maps in these box sets they are just so fantastic and I will say if the same standard of of maps can be made in the future it'll be so fantastic yeah that's one of my wishes.
Well, I appreciate that because I actually did the maps as well. Like
Oh.
the graphic designer Christian, he cleaned up what I did, but like the shape of the space station, the whole city, the whole the shape of the levels of the military base, the where the whole rooms on the Cronus, all that stuff. I did a detailed version of. Like they said, most people, most writers, when they give them something, just do a rough drawing on a piece of paper and throw it at them. But I did it all in Photoshop to make them, because for me, good game design is going to be each level of something is going to have a completely different iconic shape that's going to burn into your head.
Mm, mm.
So
Uh, yeah, yeah, and also in what is also important for me about the maps, they're these green colors,
yep.
and it is really like it catches the atmosphere of Alien. It is not like something very colorful map or something like that. I really like the design of it. I'm also a graphic designer myself, so so I really like the design and also one of the other things with the map that is great is that even that I have looked at the maps a lot of time before I go into play the scenario. Sometimes I just whoa, there's a passenger there, is a tunnel there to that point, and my players when they play, they see things I have not seen. Uh, some open up for a new tactic or something, and have it has not been like a bad thing. It's been a cool thing, especially in Destroyer World, the last part, where they see ways into the map in a new way I have not seen before. But you can do it. I can see it. So it's been a great experience with these maps. Especially when we started playing Shadow of the Gods, I showed them the side of the map with the star map, with the Sutter's world and all that, and showed them they were flying for Anchor Point to Sutter's world. And when they come to the Kronos, I say, okay, 1 minute, move away all your dices and flip it, and show them the map of the Kronos, and they were just like, whoa! And they look up at the map, and they were just excited. So yeah, that's one of my really great things I think about the Alien RPG. That's the maps.
Yeah,
Just
the green color
Yeah,
and the font,
the
that's all
aesthetics.
Christian. Yeah, he really made it feel like part of the Alien universe, and it's awesome.
absolutely. And
Yeah,
one of the funny parts, you can cut it out if you want, Jacob. But when I
yeah.
played Shadow of the Gods, my players did not want to explore the depths of the Kronos. They don't want to go down in the levels, and there was a lot going on where they were, so it was no problem for the story. But as my player, you should think about this. It's like a dungeon with goblins and treasures. You want to go down there, and they just looked at me with fear in their eyes. I didn't want to do that. So it's also great.
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah, because the aesthetics of the maps and the aesthetic of the RPG book as a whole, it's just gorgeous. I love it, and it's one of the biggest draws for me when I'm looking at my Alien book. I want to play this game because I'm sucked into this aesthetic and this atmosphere that you guys created, Andrew. That's I know you didn't draw but still you were primus on this many of this game for sure. So that's my keynote of course. So yeah, guys, I love this game, so Andrew. So thanks for talking to us again, and Lars, I'm very glad you want to back me up on some of the things we have talked on this game a bunch of times, the two of us, and so yeah, I will try to link, of course, the comics, the comic books you have written scenarios in. I will try to find them on Amazon or
They're
whatever.
they're
And
novels, they're not comics. They're like
yeah, novels. Sorry, yeah, of course, novels, and of course, and the games as a whole, Andrew.
Awesome.
So do we have anything else to say, Lars? Before we will take...
Yeah, well, I don't know if this should be cut off or anything, but I'll just say that people should play Alien RPG and if they want to try something else than Dungeons and Dragons or some of the other things, because it can give them another experience. It is fine to play Dungeons and Dragons, but sometimes it can be good to eat other things than what you are used to. Try something new and see if it can freak you out and give you something great experience that you have not thought you would get. So try to play Aliens or other alternative role-playing games. And I will say thank you, Andrew, for making this great RPG for the role-playing community.
Thank you.
And for all our listeners, I have created a soundbite actually for Lars when he ran the Chariot of Gods for the intro, the start notification from Mother when they woke up, right, Lars? And you used it when you ran.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. If I could say it myself, so it worked. And of course some sound bites through the Chariot of Gods I've created for you. So I will link that also so people can use it when they run the first time the Chariot of Gods. So yeah. Cool. But thanks for this, guys. It's been a pleasure, of course, and I hope we will talk soon again, of course.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, great to talk with you, Andrew, and thank you for all. It have been such a great experience playing the Alien RPG, as I said.
Thanks to Andrew and Lars to talk to me about Alien and the trilogy series. Check them out, and I will link it all to you in the podcast notes. So next week we will talk about Spiral, my upcoming scenario with Nerdy Productions. So listen in. Follow us on Facebook, GM Workshop, the podcast. If you want to interact with us and talk to us, give us a message. Warning, this is a Nerdy Production.